think of bedtime as a child, of being tucked under blankets, of a parent's hand brushing your forehead, of the dimming of lights, of the way the world outside your window seemed to hush just for you. You remember how sleep arrived, not as an end, but as a return, of folding back into something ancient, safe, and known. Here, by the river, it feels the same. The night settled over the valley like a soft velvet cloak, draping the hills, hushing the meadows, and smoothing every rough edge into gentle contours. The air, neither cold nor warm, carried the faintest breath of mist rising from the river below, a silken veil that shimmered under the crescent moon's pale gold light. Along the banks, reeds stood like patient sentinels, swaying in rhythm with the slow pulse of the world, their tips brushing the water's surface with whispers too quiet for waking ears. The river itself moved as if dreaming, lapping, gliding, meandering through the valley without urgency, a ribbon of liquid obsidian stitched across the earth. And then, one by one, from the shadows along the shore, they appeared, floating lanterns. They emerged like sparks born from silence, tiny sparks that bloomed into soft, living glows. At first, there was only one, a single lantern, its paper casing faintly pink, shaped like a lotus blossom just beginning to unfurl. It hovered just above the water, not rising or falling, but drifting forward in a steady, unhurried glide. The golden light within pulsed gently, like a heart wrapped in parchment, casting a subtle halo upon the river's surface. The ripples it created were not disturbances, but invitations, the lantern's passage barely dimpling the water, sending concentric rings outward, each one translucent, as if made of light-infused silk. Then came another, and another. From no visible hand, with no source apparent, they came, lanterns in colors so soft they seemed to exist more in memory than in sight. Pale blue, like the sky just before dawn. Lavender, like the first breath of spring twilight. Warm amber, like the glow of a kitchen hearth on a winter evening. Some were round, like tiny moons, others elongated like teardrops or shaped like stars with 6 delicate points. Each lantern carried its own quiet luminescence, a signature of warmth and stillness. They floated upon the river without touching it, hovering just above the surface, so close their lights kissed the water and shimmered beneath. The reflections were not mere copies. They were deeper, more liquid, as if the river held within it a parallel sky of floating stars. The light danced on the current, stretching and bending, forming halos that glowed beneath each lantern, then dissolved and reformed in slow, hypnotic waves. It was as if the water itself was breathing in time with the lights, inhaling their radiance and exhaling it back into the night. No sound marked their arrival, no crackle of flame, no rustle of paper, but their presence filled the air with a hush that was deeper than silence. It was the kind of calm that settles in just after a lullaby ends, where the world seems to pause, content to simply be. And then the river spoke, not with words, but with its own ancient language, the soft lap, lap, lap of water meeting bank, the occasional murmur of a submerged stone shifting under the current, the gurgle of a tiny eddy forming near a half-submerged branch. These were not noises, but music. Nature's nocturne played at half speed, each note drawn out and sweetened by the stillness. A frog croaked once, distant and drowsy, as if apologizing for breaking the quiet. A moth fluttered past, wings brushing the air in a whisper that barely registered. And still the lanterns came. They drifted in loose procession, not in a line, but in groups, like constellations untethering from the sky and descending to float upon the dark stream. Their light did not flicker wildly, nor did it blaze. It glowed with such evenness that it seemed to emanate from within the night itself, as though the darkness had learned how to shine. Where the mist curled over the water, the lanterns passed through it like ghosts through a curtain, their light diffusing into soft orbs, halos blurring at the edges, colors gently overlapping. One lantern, pale green like the first leaf of spring, drifted near the center, its glow pulsing slightly slower than the others, as if it carried a different rhythm within. Its reflection stretched long and wavering beneath it, like a comet's tail made of liquid gold. It moved with deliberate grace, pausing for moments on the gentle current, then gliding forward again, as though listening to the river's song, matching its pace. The air smelled of damp earth, of moss on ancient stones, of waterweed and the faint perfume of night-blooming jasmine that grew in clusters along the eastern bank. The scent carried on the stillness, drifting between the lanterns, wrapping around the senses like a blanket. It reminded of childhood summers, of quiet gardens lit by fireflies, of moments when time seemed to forget itself and simply rest. And as the lanterns floated, so too did thoughts, slow, unforced, reflective, not the sharp, darting thoughts of the waking mind, but the soft, drifting musings that come when the body is warm and the spirit unburdened. One might think of a forgotten lullaby, hummed under a porch swing. Another of a grandmother's hands folding paper into shapes that later rose into the sky. Another of a single sentence read long ago. Peace is not the absence of noise, but the presence of depth. These thoughts did not demand attention. They did not argue or insist. They floated like the lanterns, gently carried along by the river's quiet wisdom. What had once felt urgent, the tightness in the chest, the knot in the stomach, the constant hum of things undone, seemed to soften here, smoothed by the gentle motion, the unhurried light, the lullaby of water against stone. There was a sense in this place that time was not marching. It was not even standing still. It was unfolding, like the petals of a night-blooming flower, like the slow rise of steam from warm earth after rain, like the way a sigh releases tension from the shoulders. Each breath taken here seemed longer than the last. Each exhale a little deeper, a little slower. The world slowed not by force, but by invitation. A willow tree leaned over the water, its long branches trailing like fingers through the current. One lantern, amber gold and shaped like a bell, brushed lightly against the lowest bough. For a moment it paused, its light glowing brighter as if in greeting. Then, with a soft tremor of air, it drifted on, leaving behind a flicker in the willow's leaves, a momentary shimmer as though the tree had just remembered a dream. And still the lanterns came. No one knew where they began. Perhaps they rose from the water itself, born from the confluence of moonlight and midnight mist. Or perhaps they were released from unseen hands in distant villages along the river's source, folded from rice paper and lit with wishes too tender for words. Some said they were the dreams of sleeping children, escaping in quiet flight to ride the currents of the world. Others believed they were souls, kind ones, ancient ones, returning each night to bathe in the river's peace before continuing their journey. But here, in this valley, where the air hummed with soft luminescence, such explanations did not matter. What mattered was the presence, the way the glowing spheres moved as if in communion, as though each knew the path of the one ahead, adjusting its pace, its height, its light, to keep the harmony intact. They did not crowd. They did not collide. They flowed like thoughts in a meditative mind, each distinct, each belonging. One lantern, white as starlight, drifted close to the western bank, where a stone stair descended into the water. It hovered there, as if waiting. Then slowly it tilted, tipping one edge toward the surface. The light within flared gently, and a single drop of radiance fell. A glowing pearl that sank into the river with a soft hiss, not of heat, but of release. Where it touched, ripples spread outward, not dark, but luminous, tiny rings of silver light that shimmered and faded, like echoes of a sigh. And yet the lantern did not dim. It rose again, its glow steady, and continued downstream. The river curved ahead, hidden beyond a bend where alder trees grew thick and quiet. No one knew where it led, but here, watching the lanterns float past, it felt unimportant. The journey was the destination. The moment was the truth. Each lantern carried not a purpose, but a presence, an offering of calm, a whisper of beauty, a reminder that not all things need meaning to be meaningful. Above, the stars appeared more clearly now, as if the lantern's light had cleansed the sky of haze. They were not bright or sharp, but faint, twinkling with a soft, sleepy glow, like distant cousins of the lanterns below, and the moon, small, crescent, serene, dripped silver on the water, adding another layer to the shimmer, another thread to the tapestry of stillness. One by one, the lanterns rounded the bend, disappearing into the trees, their lights dimming only slightly as shadow swallowed them. But no one felt sadness at their departure. They had not left. They had continued. And the river, knowing its duty, carried on, receiving each new lantern as it appeared, sending each old one gently into the fold. A rustle came from the grasses near the bank. A small creature, perhaps a vole, perhaps a fox-kit, peeked from its hiding place. It did not flee. It blinked slowly, eyes reflecting twin sparks of lantern glow, and sat very still. For a long moment it watched. Then, as if given permission by the quiet, it curled back into the grass and slept, its breath slow, its body soft, wrapped in the night's gentle magic. And still the lanterns came. They were not endless, but they felt eternal, each one a bridge between moments, between dreams, between one breath and the next. Their light did not blind or dazzle. It soothed. It whispered. It said, "Rest now. The world is safe. The river flows. The night is kind." You watch from the bank, though you don't remember coming here. You're seated on a flat, moss-covered stone, your back supported by the trunk of an old oak. Your eyes are open, but your thoughts have long since softened into mist. You feel neither cold nor warm, neither awake nor asleep. You are simply here, held by the stillness, cradled by the quiet. A lantern passes directly in front of you. Deep rose-colored, shaped like a chrysanthemum in full bloom, it hovers at eye level. The light within pulses once, slow and sure, and for a moment you see within it not flame, but memory. The face of someone you love, smiling. The feeling of sunlight on your skin during a long-ago afternoon. The taste of warm bread, fresh from the oven. These images do not last. They dissolve like breath on glass, but their warmth remains. The lantern drifts on. You take a breath, long, deep, and release it through your nose. Your shoulders drop. Your jaw unclenches. Your eyelids grow heavier, not from fatigue, but from surrender. The river's song wraps around you. The lap, the sigh, the slow gurgle of water sliding over stone. The lanterns float by, their colors blending in your vision. Blue melts into gold. Violet bleeds into silver. Everything is soft. Everything is slow. You think of bedtime as a child, of being tucked under blankets, of a parent's hand brushing your forehead, of the dimming of lights, of the way the world outside your window seemed to hush just for you. You remember how sleep arrived, not as an end, but as a return, a folding back into something ancient, safe, and known. Here, by the river, it feels the same. There's no need to move, no need to act, no need to think, just to be, to float with the lanterns, to drift with the water, to let the glimmers of light draw your awareness inward, where where the mind becomes still, like a pond at midnight. One lantern, small, white, shaped like a seed pod, drifts near your feet. It hovers just above the water, so close you could reach out and touch it, but you do not. Instead, you watch. Its glow is almost translucent, like moonlight caught in a bubble. Then slowly, it tilts toward you, not threatening, not demanding, only offering. It drifts upward, rising gently until it floats just before your face. You feel no heat, only a faint warmth, like sunlight through a window in winter. The light pulses once, softly, and in that pulse you feel a sensation like being remembered, like being known, like being whispered to in a language older than words. And then it rises higher, joining the others above the river, becoming one more star in this slow-moving constellation. Your breath is slower now, deeper. Each inhalation draws in the cool, mist-laced air, scented with riverweed and night flowers. Each exhalation releases tension you didn't know you carried. Your body feels weightless, as though you too could rise and float upon the current. But you remain anchored gently by the mossy stone, by the roots of the oak, by the quiet embrace of the earth. The lanterns continue their journey, some disappearing behind foliage, others gliding past with unhurried grace. One, shaped like a crane in mid-flight, tilts its wings and soars slightly higher, circling above the river before rejoining the flow. Its light is silvery blue, and as it passes you hear a sound, a chime, faint and clear, like a single note from a glass bell. It rings once, then fades, leaving only the echo in your bones. And still the lanterns come. The moon sinks lower, casting elongated shadows across the water. The mist thickens, wrapping around the stems of reeds, curling around the trunks of trees. Yet the lanterns are not dimmed. If anything, they glow brighter within the haze, their light diffused into soft halos, like miniature suns wrapped in gauze. You close your eyes, not to shut out the sight, but to let it settle within you. The images remain, the way the water shimmered under the rose lantern, the way the blue one trembled slightly in the breeze, the way the reflections stretched and curled like living things. But even these fade, gently, like footprints in soft sand. Your mind is no longer a storm. It is a lake, still, deep, reflective. Thoughts arise, but they do not cling. They drift like leaves on the surface, carried by the current, dissolving at the edges. A memory of laughter, a fragment of a song, the warmth of a hand held. They come, they shimmer, they go, and you are not sad, you are not anxious, you are not waiting, you are here, floating, breathing, being. The sounds of the river grow deeper, more resonant, not louder, but fuller, as if the water itself is singing a lullaby in a tone too low for ordinary ears. It vibrates in your chest, in your bones, in the very core of your being. The lap, lap, lap becomes a rhythm, a pulse, a heartbeat shared with the world. A new lantern appears, larger than the others, shaped like a blooming iris, its color a deep, velvety indigo. It floats slowly, majestically, as if carrying great wisdom. Its light does not pulse, but glows steadily, like a star that has chosen to walk the earth. It passes directly in front of you, and though your eyes are closed, you feel its presence, a warmth, a quietude, a sense of being seen without judgment. And then you hear it, not with your ears, but with your soul, a whisper, soft, wordless, yet full of meaning. It says, belong, and you do. You belong to this moment, to this river, to this night, to the slow drift of light upon water, to the soft song of stillness, to the ancient peace that has always been here, waiting. The indigo lantern continues on, and as it does, its glow spreads just slightly across the water, across the air, across your skin. It is not light as illumination, but light as comfort, as acceptance, as home. You exhale, and in that breath, you let go, not of anything specific, but of the need to hold on, of the tension behind your eyes, of the clench in your stomach, of the hum of thoughts that once raced like fireflies in a jar. You release them all, not forcefully, but gently, like releasing a handful of petals into the river, and they float away. With them goes the weight of the day, the worries, the unfinished lists, the voices that said more, faster, better. They dissolve into the night, carried off by the lanterns, absorbed by the mist, quieted by the water's song. Now there is only space, empty, soft, and full of peace. You feel your body sinking, not into the earth, but into itself. Your arms are heavy, your legs relaxed, your neck loose, your breathing so slow it feels almost paused. Each inhale is a gift, each exhale a surrender, and still the lanterns come. They drift past like stars in reverse, descending from sky to water, from dream to earth. Some are flickering now, their light dimming like candles nearing their end, but they do not fall. They do not vanish. Instead, as their glow fades, they rise, softly, slowly, lifting from the river's surface, spiraling upward like fireflies invited home. They rise into the sky, becoming part of the stars, part of the night, part of the breath between moments. One by one, the lanterns ascend, and as they do, the river grows darker, not cold, not empty, but peaceful. The water reflects the moon, the stars, the silhouettes of trees. The ripples are smaller now, more delicate. The sounds are softer, deeper, like the murmurs of a sleeping world. You remain. Your eyes are closed, your body still, your breath a mere whisper. And then, from somewhere far away, perhaps from the bend in the river, perhaps from within your own heart, a new lantern appears. It is smaller than the others, round, simple, made of plain, translucent paper. Its light is pale gold, gentle, familiar, like the glow of a nightlight in a child's room. It drifts toward you, not on the river, but along the bank, gliding just above the grass. It stops before you, hovers, and in its light you see not images, not memories, but a feeling, safety, warmth, being held. It does not speak, it does not move, it simply is, and in its presence you smile, just slightly, just at the corners of your lips. A smile that comes not from joy, nor from sadness, but from recognition. You know this light. It has been with you all along, and now it waits. You take one final breath, slow, full, complete. And as you exhale, you lean into the stillness. The lantern dims, softly, gradually, its glow folding inward like a closing eye. And you drift. The river continues. The water flows. The night deepens. And from the banks, new lanterns rise. Soft, slow, glowing. Released not by hands, but by hearts. They float upon the current, reflections shimmering beneath them, colors blending in the mist. One is blue, one is silver, one is the color of dawn's first blush. They move in silence, in peace, in beauty, and somewhere on the bank a figure sits beneath an oak tree, still, quiet, breathing slowly. Their chest rises, their chest falls, their mind dreams, and above them the last lantern, the small golden one, hovers for a moment. Then it rises up into the sky where it joins the stars, and the river, it flows on, lapping, gliding, carrying light, carrying peace, carrying you, even now, deeper into the calm. You are safe, you are still, you are held. The lanterns float, the water sings, the night breathes, and you sleep. You think of bedtime as a child, of being tucked under blankets, of a parent's hand brushing your forehead, of the dimming of lights, of the way the world outside your window seemed to hush just for you. You remember how sleep arrived, not as an end, but as a return, a folding back into something ancient, safe, and known. Here by the river, it feels the same.